Okay, let's welcome everybody. We may as well get started. We'll get to the crux of this in a few minutes into it. We're going to call our Town of Bluffton Strategic Plan Workshop to order. Thank you for those who rearranged their schedule from the original one that we just felt we needed to rearrange timing, but it is February 26th, 10 o'clock on the button. We are getting it recorded from the county channel for a later production. It's not live. It's not a live filming, but it will be on demand. I want to welcome everyone for coming. I'm going to go around quickly, and we'll start with Catherine. We'll go around the table. If everyone can just introduce themselves, I'd appreciate it. So we'll start with you, Catherine. And I would ask y'all, we're sharing mics. Just so it picks up, let's speak into the mic so Joe can hear us in the back. You're welcome. You want to say it again?
Still Catherine Robinson, Resources Director.
Terry Finger, County Attorney. Mark Orlando, Town Manager.
Chris Chapman, Town Clerk.
Chris Chapman, Chief of Police.
Chris Forster, Director of Finance.
Mike Levine, Don Ryan, Center for Innovation.
Brian McElwee, Director of Engineering.
Heather Colin, Director of Growth Management.
Lisa Cunningham, Clerk of Court.
Scott Marshall, Deputy Town Manager.
Tommy Sunday, Director of Technology.
Bruce Trumber, HBAC, Chair, Historic Preservation.
Terry Hannock, Vice Chair, Planning Commission.
Dan Wood, Bluffton Town Council.
Fred Hamilton, Bluffton Town Council.
Lisa Sulca, Mayor.
Bridget Frazier, Bluffton Town Council.
Larry Toomer, Town Council.
And maybe on the front row, because they're very important partners in the town, we just would have to take up the whole room if we brought everyone to the table. So if you could introduce yourself kind of loudly, we'll go with the front row and who you represent.
Rachel Wisniewski with the Hoover County Board of Education.
John Fleming with Southern Carolina Alliance.
Blakely Williams with Dominion Energy.
Ashley Jacobs, Beaver County.
Lynn Hall, Hargrave Communications.
Harry Williams, Martinville Mayor.
Mike Matthews, two roles today. I'm the chairman of the Bluffton County Rural Critical Lands Board. I'm also a board member of the Down County Conservation.
Super. Well, thank you all for spending the morning with us.
Dr. Benet.
Oh, Dr. Panu. Yes.
Al Panu, USCB.
Thank you. He's a loyal participant since he's arrived here, so I'm sorry I missed you. Thank you all. Before, let's see, we'll just jump into public comment right now. If anyone has a public comment, it's 3 minutes or less. We'd like it not to be a presentation of any sort. It's really relating to our strategic plan. So if there's public comment by the audience, there is none, so we will, name and address.
Terry Finger, 25 McIntyre Road. I just want to let everybody know that Bluffton Town's team was the prevailing team in the RBC Heritage presented by Boeing sponsor day earlier this week. The mayor and I were both at, but Brian and Richardson, Bruce in my office, as well as two others, shot 58 at Harbor Town and took the trophies home. So Bluffton should be proud about our team winning.
Yay! It was on my list.
Okay.
So I was getting in the car and I looked at Brian and Richardson. I said, "You better bring it home for the team. Like, y'all aren't here just to play around." And Brian was like, "We'll try. We'll try." And he knew he was going to win. So congratulations, Brian. I know you carried the team since Richardson's not here. So public comment, there's no public comment. I do see Palmetto Electric. Thank you, Corey, for being here. And we have someone from Don Ryan Center, Larry Hughes. Thank you for participating, and we might embarrass you and ask you to say who you are if we see you walk in. Before I turn it over to Mark, who our town manager is, I just want to start off with some perspective and just share my thoughts, and I wrote a few comments down. You know, since 1998, our town started to becoming known. You know, the people who lived here knew what Bluffton was. They knew how to spell it. They knew every single person that lived there, and really started to see some growth from outside our town limits. And we've experienced significant growth from that point, and we have been working with rules and legalities and documents and rules and from that point before any of us sat on council. There's new growth in long-standing neighborhoods. There's new homes in neighborhoods that have been here for decades, and they're new businesses. But with the success that we've had come pressures and concerns for community balance. And I've been saying this a long time, really over the last year, we're out of balance. We are out of balance, and how do we fix it when we're not in control of all legs of the stool? So that is going to be, and that's been vocalized over the past few months because of the new development that don't understand the history and education of why we are where we are today. We've accomplished a lot. We've learned. Today, I suggest that our discussion be framed around what is most important looking forward. And I'm going to take Fred's phrase, which he needs to market and put a trademark on it. We know better, so now we need to do better. And if we can all think quality of life, and we know better, so let's do better, we can just solve all problems, I think, and work together. So why are we here? We're here to collaborate. We're here to think through new, and I suggest bold ideas that we've been discussing internally for quite some time. We're here to plan. We're here to set new priorities for the next 2 years to 28 months. And what we do today will have long-lasting impacts on our beautiful town, most importantly, for the children that we see when I walking down the street, for them to take our roles one day and speak kindly of us, not be frustrated with us. So I look at the audience, I know every one of y'all feel that way, and we're gonna think out of the box, and I think this council's bold enough to support very out-of-the-box thinking from our staff and set a bar for everyone else around us. So with that, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor Salka.
You got the ball.
Town Council. It's great to be here with all of you today, as well as the community partners and this amazing senior leadership team. Just want to really highlight why we're here today from at least staff's perspective, and just to kick off. First is to overview our current strategic plan. So to measure, monitor, and report the progress to date from our current plan. Remember that we have a 2-year action plan, a strategic plan that lasts every 2 years. We set that plan in place with a January 2018 workshop and a May or June 2018 adoption. We were here a year ago, more or less, plus or minus or less a few weeks. We were here a year ago to reset the strategic plan action agenda for the remaining of this year. So we have in the current action agenda that I'll dive into 69 work plan items, 18 are complete, 19 will be complete by the end of the fiscal year, and you'll have several that roll forward into the proposed action agenda. Most of those, actually all of those that will roll forward are either one of two things. They're a capital project at some stage in the project life cycle, whether it's design, permitting, council approval of contract or construction. So those will roll forward. And then there's some major policy initiatives that at some point are also in the pipeline, whether it's drafted text, planning commission workshop, town council workshop. So you'll see some of those larger scale policy initiatives again roll forward. And then really, why are we here today? We're here to ultimately test our current strategic plan goals and objectives and set a work plan in place for the next 2 fiscal years, beginning July 1. A large part of our conversation and a lot of what you see, or actually all of what you see on the work plan that I'll show you in a little bit, is based upon your surveys in the strategic plan exercise, so town council surveys, as well as some of staff surveys. So before I begin, just a few thank yous, of course, if I could, and I'll be quick. Thank you, council, your vision, leadership, and guidance, and also your resolve to implement the strategic plan. Thank you to 119, Mayor, I counted them. I'm not sure if we have more board and commission and committee appointees anymore as we do staff, but it is close. We have 119 of your appointed board, commission, and committees, some of which are here today, and thank you to them for overseeing that work before them. Thank you to our community partners, a lot of them in the room today. Really appreciate your time. I know how hard it is to be everywhere, but thank you for being here. And then thank you to this amazing team around the table here, our senior leadership team, my senior leadership team, and to all the other employees, some of which are in the audience here. We see Debbie, Pat, Will, saw some others, Vicky back there. We truly believe in each other and are proud of the values and the mission and vision statements of the town of Bluffton. We really are. A little perspective on Bluffton before we dive in, and I always think it's important to just kind of look at where we are. So a reminder, or maybe some perspective for everybody. We're 54 square miles. That makes up the municipal boundary. What it doesn't make up is the unincorporated Bluffton Township area, whether it's Sun City or All Joy, from east to west, and other parts in between. Arguably, the development agreements are 46% built out, and that number has raised considerably over the last few years. It raised at least 10% since Heather's joined us as the growth management director. Not Heather's fault, but that's what our growth management director is coping with, managing, and Heather's doing a great job leading through. So here's where it starts to get interesting for me a little bit. Southern Beaufort County population, a little more than 102,000 people. So since 2015, that number has increased by 4%. I forgot to mention that typically 2019 numbers, 2019 values come out in about April. And so since it's not quite April yet, we've taken some conservative estimates and used some averaging to come up with these numbers, but we think we're very accurate, but definitely conservative as well. So a 4% increase of Southern Beaufort County, so that Hilton Head, Sun City, Bluffton. The town of Bluffton, estimated population of 24,000, I arguably think that's higher, but that's a 28% increase in that same amount of time. So 4% overall in the county, 28%. And the median age has gone up a little bit. It's 37 as a median age, apologize, Mayor, from 35.6 to 37. Per capita income, again, that's increasing. So a per capita, so that's a per person, per household income of $37,204. That's up 13%. Household income, $83,077. That's up more than 19%. So you see that per person makes 13 more, per house makes 19 more. But here's where it starts getting interesting. Median rent, more than 15%. There should be a dollar sign in there, I apologize, at the median rent. It's a 15% increase since 15. And remember, go backwards. Household income went up 19%, but the home value increased in the same amount of time, 25%, when household incomes are only increasing 19%. I think, Mayor, that's some of the balance that I think you talk about. We are in the permit issuing, construction review, site inspection business. It's our core business. This year, or in 19, we've issued 689 single-family residential permits for a construction value almost at $300 million. You see it fluctuate a little bit, but really in the grand scheme of things, between 719 to 689 over those few years, we're staying around the same. It's not fluctuating so much that it's affecting our budgets. It's not affecting our employee base. Ditto with multifamily, but what you see in 17, nothing, and it jumped up to 264 and 274 multifamily units. So over the last couple of years, we've issued more than 500 multifamily permits, and only a very, very few of those are at a workforce or affordable level. A very few, and that was really guided and demanded by you in negotiations as it pertained to development agreements. Commercial square feet, you see that we've issued 370-ish thousand square feet of commercial square feet in our town. You see the value. And really the way we think, the way I think with our team, and thankful to our consultants here today, in strategic planning, it's typical that your vision is your why, and your strategic plan is your how. So something to think about today. I think the vision is in place, our why. What is our vision? It's up on the board in the back, but the strategic plan is how we get there. So that being said. So strategic plan action agenda. So what I'll do real quick with town council at the table.
Can I jump in real quick, Mark?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I saw a few people come in. The packets that we have for reserve for the chairs and and all, are they somewhere where other people can get them later or online right now? And will this presentation be online?
This presentation will be online
Okay.
after I show it to you all
Right.
first, and we'll have packets like this available online at the end of the day.
Great. Okay, just want to let people know who came in late. Thanks.
And a lot of what we do today will be driven by what's in your binder. So you have a binder, and I'll explain it real quick. There's your binder. We've had them in the past. There's a good table of contents. Tab 1 is your agenda. So if we look at the agenda real quick, just an overview. So we're going to go over the current strategic plan action agenda. I'll highlight some things in there that were complete, to be complete by end of fiscal, and then what rolls over. I'll go over that it'll take about 10 minutes. Then our team, Bill and Mike, will go over your survey results, talk a lot more about strategic plan, and go over the town council survey results. We'll have a working lunch. Lunch will be brought in starting around 11:30. And then this afternoon, based upon your survey results, we're going to talk about policies, projects, operational improvements. And so this year you see operational improvements on the list a little differently than years past. They're strategic to me. While they're not policy decisions, they're budget related because it's people and time. So we have some improvements in-house to make. The way we handle the parade, the way we facilitate event permits, the way we conduct ourselves during code enforcement exercise. So there's some improvements we need to make to streamline the process and work on some of that. So you'll see some of that today. We're going to talk a little bit about key performance indicators. How do we measure? What should we measure? How do we know if we're doing well? It's a little more than just throwing up some numbers on the page of how many permits we're issuing or how many people are moving here. Beaufort County Economic Development Corp will provide an update for us all. I'll explain where we are with budget preparation because everything we do today, strategic plan, policy, project, will all tie back into how we prepare that budget for your consideration and proposal to you in a few months. And then as much time as you need to discuss various items. So you have all those items in your binder. Any questions so far?
Any questions, Council? I'll have to do a plug because I forgot. Corner Perk has donated the coffee for today. So if you're in there, thank them. They are a good partner. So just
Yes, they are.
flash the cup if you're out and about.
Flash the cup, hashtag.
Hashtag flash the cup. Any questions, Council? Anyone? Okay.
So what you see up here is a new look. It's a new, fresh look. A ton of credit to Scott Marshall for organizing this, but a ton of credit for the department heads working with me to come up with what we've worked on and how that translates into a better way to display our work. So full transparency moving forward, town council, community, you won't necessarily need to wait for me to update you all on where we are with the strategic plan action agenda. It's on the screen. We will allow some read access for you all. You can take a look at it, but it's a very useful tool. And I'm going to go through some of these items. So this is our current work plan. So this was the work plan that you adopted and modified. So you adopted it in 18, modified it in 19, and it's our work plan in place until the end of this fiscal year. So until the end of June 30, it rolls over to the new plan we're working on today. So we established a fee on certain building permits to support housing and other initiatives. That's complete. Our work plan implementation is always live, and we're working on it. Keep rolling, Scott. The May River Road Housing Initiative has really morphed into a bigger project than just the May River Road. We've added to that scope of work not just our May River Road property, but the property that we once all called the CrossFit site on Mellenchamp, Dr. Mellenchamp, as well as the town's 10 acres right behind Hargray, just south of the Hargray site on the Bluffton roundabout, as well as some other residual land we own. That Scott, I'll let you know when to drive, buddy.
All right.
So that project is underway. We bid it out. We didn't receive any proposals back. We took a different look at it. We thought bigger. We thought differently. We rebid. There's 3 proposals in right now that will be scored this week. We will bring that forward with some input, with input and recommendation from our Affordable Housing Committee. The chair of Affordable Housing, as Councilman Hamilton, has been involved with us on the RFP, on the scoring, and a lot of the conversation with these potential partners. So more to come on that. But the ultimate goal is that we develop, or we facilitate the development, of affordable and workforce housing product up to 100% of the AMI, but at different price points and AMI ranges. Stay tuned. UDO amendments, there's a bunch of them. So Heather and team updated the application manual to be a lot more specific on what's required, to take some more time allowed in how they turn around, or how often they turn around projects. So in the past, we used to get projects turned around in 10 days. Heather has let me know she needs more, so that application manual was amended to help with that. And so these things are complete. Goethe-Schultz neighborhood plan, parking policy amendment. I'm going to go fast through the things that are complete, unless you want me to slow down. Citizen access portal, the C-Click fix, it's complete. It's working for us. We're as only good at that as the community knows about it. So a plug for C-Click fix. It's out there. It's on our website. It's a great tool that I know Brian McElwee, our Director of Engineering, has oversight on, and it's very helpful to get community input, more eyes and ears in the community into what really is broken in our town and how can we help fix it. You will see a lot of UDO, Unified Development Ordinance amendments, coming forward at various stages. Town Council Workshop, March. I believe there's 3 different chapters, 8 or 9 different provisions as a workshop item with Town Council. They all pertain to everything you see in your action agenda and then some. So historic district provisions, development standards, zoning text amendments, historic district alignment, I think that's town code, and a whole bunch of other things. So you can see them up there. Unsafe, uninhabited structures, that will carry forward. We just didn't get that complete by the end of the fiscal year. We can't based on schedules. Land acquisition plan, we commit to improving that to give some guidance to all of you as a town council on is there a weighted average of what we look at and how we look at potential property for acquisition? Are we just looking at it to buy it, or are we looking at it to reduce trips, build housing, preserve open space, build a park? There's different ways we all look at land, and we actually are memorializing that into your existing land acquisition manual. You've always had on the action agenda amending development agreements. We've had some successes in the past. We haven't had any lately. Those take time. They're difficult. Both parties need something, and that's when the opportunity to amend the agreements present themselves. I believe the last 2 that we had success on, I don't want to forget about those. We retired Ken Estates. We put the density in the town's development bank. Beaufort County assisted with rural and critical lands purchase and built a pretty significant, or planning to build a pretty significant stormwater related project at the headwaters of the Okatee. We also revised the village of Revere, where we swapped out some residential for commercial. We put about 80 acres or so in private open space with a covenant in perpetuity. And then we moved some things around in that agreement. And we made that agreement comply with the UDO, that's where we're having some trouble with some of these other agreements. They're really based upon 20-year-old text, the old zoning and development standards from Beaufort County. So we have 7 development agreements. 1 of them applied to the UDO, which is in such our favor. So the SCE&G/Dominion Energy tree trimming policy, we're working on that. We have some good ideas on how to make sure that any tree cutting in our neighborhoods don't get out in front of us. And we know what that feels like, sounds like, and looks like. And so they're not here yet, so we're just carrying that over to the new plan.
Do we
Got
know
it.
the date of that? I know it's every 5 years, but,
It's probably late this year.
I think it's
Okay.
August or September.
August, September this year. And so, I'll explain. We're going to come to town council in a workshop setting and let you know the date. We're going to let you know what our plan of action is, seek your feedback, and then as they come forward, we'll also bring Dominion to town council so they can hear your expectations and concerns directly. Short-term rental policy, that will align with the short-term UDO provisions, short-term rental provisions. And so we'll align business licensing, permitting process, and true provisions. So we're working on completing that by the end of the fiscal. Updating the National Historic District to align with the local district, that's a carryover. That's a big to-do. That's not just moving lines on a page. That's making some decisions of what our historic district boundary is. We have two districts. We have a local district, we have a national district. That local district and national district aren't 100% aligned, and there's pros and cons, positives and negatives, as you affect different properties to align them. And so there's been some careful thought. Heather and her team have worked hard to update the survey, and they'll process that forward as soon as they can get to it. Right now, their heads in the books on the UDO. Implementing the Don Ryan strategic plan. It's a carryover, but I think Mike Levine has arrived, put the team together, and they're focused on recruitment to Buckwalter Place, and they're focused on incubating companies. We've graduated more than 35 companies to date. We haven't been at a graduation in a little while. I think space matters, people matter. Don Ryan Center should be open by the end of March, early April. And I think that we will see a lot more out of the Don Ryan Center with those two purposeful missions: recruiting to Buckwalter Place and then some, and then also incubating companies at some form of the life cycle of a company. So that's been in your strategic plan. Center for Cultural Arts, that's a carryover. We put a facelift and some good modifications into the theater. We have, for the first time, a formal agreement that I think both parties understand with the May River Theater Company in the Almer Auditorium. But there's a lot more to do. We've acquired property at New Riverside Barn. There may be opportunities there depending on the master plan for outdoor concerts. But what this isn't yet is a real scope. It was something in your strategic plan. I have not yet put a scope together to put a plan together for a cultural arts center. I know there's some private groups working on it in Bluffton Village. I know that our theater is very functional, and I know that we have some open space that would probably be very beneficial for symphonies in the park, graduations, concerts, and playgrounds. So, comp plan update. Well, we wanted to get to that this year. Full disclosure, we just haven't. We are spending a lot of time with customers, Heather's team and Brian's team, a lot of time with customers, applicants, and a lot of time on these UDO edits, among some other things. Comp plan, though, you will see as a proposal, as a rollover, is something we have to do. We have to jump into that head first, as deep as we can, starting July 1. So, am I going too fast? Good. Historic District Incentive Program. We know that Beaufort and some others across the state have adopted the Bailey Bill, which freezes property tax at a value pre-improvement to your historic property. You will see a menu of options that Growth Management has put together coming to a workshop at council soon. You'll have a menu of options to ask you directly, are these the types of incentives that you would agree to in the historic district for the town of Bluffton? They will affect time and money. So some we may have to budget for, some we don't. So they're freezing the property taxes, we don't have to budget for that, but that's still definitely an incentive. So you'll see that coming forward, and that's carrying forward. Process improvements to the development application process. I think that's a daily, weekly, monthly task that I know Heather and Kevin and Will and others work on. Cost level of service study for use of stormwater fees. You've revised the way we calculate. I believe WAPAC, Watershed Action Plan Committee, and we talked a little bit yesterday with the county meeting, potentially increasing that stormwater utility fee so that we are, I would say, competitive or price competitive in the region, but also as important, so that we can actually perhaps bond some dollars and build the projects out of the gate. Right now, the pace is a little bit each year. So those are things that Watershed Action Plan Advisory Committee has been discussing with staff. So that's complete. There's step 2 though into the next year. Consideration to provide public access to town council meetings. I think we keep it simple. We put council meetings on Facebook Live. We upload it to our YouTube channel when complete. We had some struggles out of the gate just trying to figure out YouTube, how YouTube and Facebook talk. And I think Kim and Lindsay have done a great job figuring that out along with Tom and his team. Contract tracking software, it's in place. It flags contracts for us. It has everything we need. Citizen access portal on development permit applications. IT, what a great map. Mayor, Council, I know you've seen it. I've heard you brag on it a little bit, which definitely pleases all of us. It's a permit map. If you're driving down the street and you want to know what's going on down the road or next to your house, you can get on the town's website, click on the permit tracker map, and it's as good of a permit tracker map as you'll find. And we've compared them with some of the big cities in this country, including New York City and San Francisco, and our map is just as functional, reads just as well, and so great job. Local ATAX ordinance, complete by the end. Did I miss something? Oh, event reservations. So we put them on an online calendar. You can sign up. We're always trying to get better. We have more events than days of the year. We definitely have more events than staff members. And so what we are trying to do is streamline how we work on that. And we've messed up. We've not unlocked the gate for a party. We've had a water leak, and you can't find the town of Bluffton 911 number on a Saturday morning. And so I know Chief Chapman and Brian McElwee have got back together and really worked on that. What we've also got a lot better at is how does somebody rent the Rotary Community Center? And so stay tuned for some more enhancements in the future. We'll adopt the local ATAX ordinance by the end of the year. I won't get into the scope. We've talked about that before. Capital asset policy revisions, ditto. Beaufort County impact fee assessment. I know that I've been in a couple meetings for Beaufort County to rethink some of our impact fee structure. Years ago, more than a decade ago, the town of Bluffton entered into an operating agreement with Beaufort County where we collect the impact fees. We charge 1% for our time and brain damage, and we distribute the rest to Beaufort County. That ordinance expires once the Bluffton Parkway or some other projects are built, and or until 10 years. Well, we're past the 10 years, but we didn't meet the other threshold yet. Beaufort County is taking a look at updating their impact fee ordinance across the board. I believe definitely traffic, definitely parks and libraries and whatnot. And so stay tuned for some more on that. I know that they're tracking and to look into that. Hopefully we'll know what we're doing by the end of this fiscal year. If not, that'll be a carry forward. Citizen access portal for online payments. We're continuously trying to accept more and more online. To be 100% online is expensive software and a different way we do business. We still know people like to do business in person as it relates to development. And so I think that we're doing a great job, but the job's not done yet. So stay tuned. Ditto with that. Just kind of go hand in hand. And then the rest of these are CAP projects. And you see over on the left that you'll see this in the future as a read-only document, infrastructure. So we're now in the infrastructure section. And in the green, I'm not going to belabor. We've got these done. We've been to ribbon cuttings. We know what they are. And I'm proud of the staff's effort. sewer extension and connection implementation, dog park, town facility improvements, the law enforcement center, public works, watershed management. 184 Bluffton Road, we added parking spaces.
It's the last page.
I don't, Mark,
It's
the
the
next
last
page
page.
for us is May River and watersheds and town organization, and then infrastructure is this one? So we're on this one. Okay, I just want to make sure. I see flipping going on over here.
Should I pause since we're in a new
No,
section?
no,
Okay.
no, we're good.
Is it good? Are the rest of
We
you
good?
guys good?
We're good.
Okay. So you can see we completed 184 Bluffton Road, which is parking spaces. We renovated Town Hall debt-free. We're so super proud of the building. But more importantly, I do think that our customers interact kinder. We're able to help them more. And that is a really great place to not only recruit but retain employees and treat our customers well. Martin Family Park, I know we have a ribbon cutting in March. An amazing space, and I think it complements DuBose Park, Hayward House, our Welcome Center, as well as the entire historic district, not only because of the park, but because of some great parking spaces that were needed. The Buckwalter Place Public-Private Partnership, complete by the end of the fiscal year. Most likely, by the end of the fiscal year, we'll have everything in place, and the only thing left to do out there is figure out with the Department of Commerce, Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation, Beaufort County as well, what are we going to do with those 2 pad spaces? They're job ready. The infrastructure, for the most part, will be in. Our Don Ryan Center will be open. TCL will be underway. St. Joseph Candler Oncology will be open. Evercourse Park is well used. I think our police department, which at one point was one of a few buildings out there, they're very happy to have some heat, some energy out there with some other folks. The Surge Group seems happy, and I think we all may have found a new favorite restaurant or 2 out there, so let alone Kroger. If you haven't been by the Buckwalter Place Park, soon enough that park will transfer to us, so know that that was a negotiated point in the contract. So we didn't build that park, we designed it, and our development partner, Southeastern, built it. The same development partner that built out the rest of the roads, tied in the stormwater, built some of the infrastructure out there that we plugged into, and they're also building our Don Ryan Center for Innovation for us, which thank you to Councilman Hamilton for telling me that a lease wasn't good enough. We'll own the space of the Don Ryan Center. We'll own the public park. At that public park are 2 pretty awesome corners of the park. The ADA, the barrier-free, or I would say the inclusive playground.
It's awesome.
It's great. There'll be a fence around it. People have asked. We will definitely put a fence around that park. It's not ordered yet. But then also, as important and another very proud accomplishment that will be done by the end of this fiscal year is our partnership with the American Legion Auxiliary Unit 205, the Veterans Memorial. And so a special thank you to Scott, Brian, and Pat, and Constance for caring so much about that space. It's better than I think we dreamed of.
Agreed.
You know. Don Ryan Upfit I covered. Wright Family Park, it's under construction. So I think it's just a quick little story, because I know I need to tell council at some point. Some of you may know. What's been interesting out there is we're building a park. We're building a park next to the water, next to the church, next to Calhoun Street. It should complement, and vice versa, complement our dock if we ever get the permit. So Hayward House, Kelly Graham and Company, and some other folks asked if they could just do some simple look-sees at the park to see if they can find anything in the soil. And so they found Mr. Wright's dog tags. I thought that was pretty cool. Then they found some buttons off the end of what they could say is some buttons off some Civil War era soldier uniforms. Pretty amazing. And they kept digging. Scott warned them, don't dig so deep you find bones and bodies, but what they found is, I believe, Brian, pretty accurate, right? They found the original piers of the home that was burnt during the burning
Oh
of
my
Bluffton.
gosh, awesome.
And so on property, there's a little bit of delay because we're simply just trying to figure out not to impact that. That will remain uncovered. It will remain a feature and story of the park. And they've dug around several of those piers, and they've proven to be the original piers of the home that was burnt, and we know that we bought the Wright family Squire Pope Cottage, which really was the second of the two structures on site, and we're all proud that it was saved during the burning. Well, the one that was burnt, we found the foundation.
That's cool.
Pretty exciting, and great job to these two ladies that have helped us with that.
Who owns the relics? Who owns all of that?
Us. That's our
Okay.
property. That's our property. And so we'll figure out how to display that, provide Mr. Wright his property back, which may be a pretty cool thing to do at the groundbreaking, or a ribbon cutting, I should say. So, Historic District Traffic Calming Plan, that'll carry over into the next fiscal and then expand beyond just Historic District. I know that there's some issues with Gothey, Schultz, Buck Island, Simmonsville, and how are we getting people from one side of the street to the other, and then also up and down the street. So we're going to explore a bigger traffic calming plan that includes sidewalks, signage, crosswalks, lighting, and all of those other different elements. So stay tuned. That's a carry forward. We're working on the street ownership and maintenance strategy. We talked to you a lot about that at a recent workshop. That's underway. Again, that's one of the CAP projects that roll forward. Oscar Fraser Park, Field of Dreams, that's a carryover. Phase 2, 3, or 4 will be under construction with some sidewalks and some enhancements soon enough. Our initial original bids for the work came in too high, so we rebid the work. Buck Island Simmonsville Phase 5, I know that's important. I know that's been a Q&A. Do you want me to slow down for a minute and answer questions on the timing of that project specifically?
Any questions on that one project? I think go through it and then we'll,
Okay.
I've been writing notes, I think others have, so.
Cove Skids, we simply put that on there to remind ourselves in the future. I think that's definitely further out than a 2-year plan, but we'll embed it in our strategic plan, in our capital project plan, our 5-year, and know that pedestrian crossings on some of our bridges, on some of our coves is important in the future. I mentioned the Squire Pope Cottage. You've recently adopted the preservation plan. We're underway with the construction drawings, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, as well as construction documents, so that we can price the project. Once we figure out what that looks like, we'll come back to you and share those details with you. Old Town Drainage Improvement Study. A lot of the problem in Old Town is there's a lot of water and there's nowhere to go. Brian will continue to work on that project into the next fiscal year. I know he's been improving a couple little spots at a time. He'll dive into that overall drainage improvement study and plan next fiscal. Oyster Factory Park improvements. Since we've been here, we put the ramp in, some drainage improvements in, so we've got some work done out there, still some more to do. When we rework the Calhoun Street dock, right? When we replace it with a new dock, there's pieces of the Calhoun Street dock that Beaufort County has indicated that it's useful and good to transfer some of those materials down to their property that we manage at Oyster Factory Park. So we'll see some enhancements and improvements at Oyster Factory in conjunction with the Calhoun Street dock. They have to use those materials, so it's better we keep them in our front yard rather than put them in some storage site somewhere. Buck Island Simmonsville sidewalks and lighting at the April quarterly workshop. We'll dive into this a lot more with you all. Buck Island Simmonsville lighting and sidewalks. Calhoun Street streetscape improvements. The plan's underway. We'll again bring forward to you at a workshop in April. Master plan, and that master planning is an all-inclusive Calhoun Street streetscape master plan. It includes improvements to crosswalks, lighting, sidewalks, the entire corridor, as well as the power lines, improvements to burying those power lines once and for all. Townwide wayfinding, really the ultimate goal here is if we're driving down May River Road, how do we know where the police station is, the high school, the Don Ryan Center, whatnot. And so it's just basic signs. Again, that's something we haven't got to, but we promise to get to that coming in the next fiscal year. Bridge Street enhancements. Was it 2 months ago you saw at a workshop, I think Brian and his team, internal as well as anyone he's working with externally, have put a really responsible, I would say a financially responsible proposal together for you to make some improvements on the street without overspending. And definitely our focus is from Burnt Church Road to Calhoun Street as a phase, and then from Calhoun Street further down to Thomas Hayward, taking a look. So you saw that recently. Again, that's not done, so we're moving it forward. The dock improvements, I've met recently with DHEC. They let us know that they get back to us in 2 weeks. Brian, is it 2 weeks yet?
It's this Friday.
Okay, so he's tracking it. That's how close he's tracking it. He knows by the day. So stay tuned. We're simply waiting for our commercial dock permit to get to work. It's funded. It's funded through grant dollars. It's designed. It's been through community workshop several different times, several different ways. Just waiting. Goethe Schultz Sidewalks Phase 2 underway, grant dependent, but similar to Phase 1. We have a Goethe neighborhood plan in place that helped qualify us for some grant money, some considerable dollars, and we're moving that forward. New Riverside Park, last workshop, you had some updates on the public input to date. We had some good discussion, and you'll see a, I would say, version 1 of a proposed master plan to you at an upcoming workshop, I believe in April as well. New River Trail carry forward to next year. We've got 5.2 miles of the New River Trail in place. It's an old abandoned rail line. It connects to Sun City on one end and terminates at the New River on the other. It also, through an easement, or I'd say right-of-way, that we've acquired for the future expansion of the Bluffton Parkway, we could carry that 5.2 miles ending at the New River all the way up to 170 as it terminates at Bluffton Parkway. So we've got some significant mileage that we could put that pathway, that off-road pathway together. And so stay tuned on some planning there. We simply haven't got to that this year. Beautification Committee work plan, that's always a priority and always on our to-do list. Regional ditch maintenance strategy, carrying over. I know we've improved a little bit, but we've got state ditches, county ditches, town ditches, and not my ditches. So we need to put a plan in place. We know that there are some significant issues, and we know where they are. There are some of them in Buck Island. It's the man that's howling floods every few years because of a bad storm. Well, the water's in the ditch. It's where it should be. The water doesn't always flush as much as it can or should under the roadway, under Buck Island. It goes through a gentleman's property that has lived there for a long time, and we don't have an easement, a permanent construction easement in place to get on the property and fix the drainage system. And so stay tuned for some more on that. We've recently hired an employee. I know Brian's been focused on this. Again, this is a long-term plan. We're going to leave it in our strategic plan and keep working towards it. No wake zone. I would say we have one in place as much as what we believe will be adopted. Stormwater ordinance by the end of the fiscal. May River quality, watershed water quality model by the end of the fiscal. BMP manual by the end of the fiscal. We'll forever be implementing and administrating the MS4 program. The May River Watershed Action Plan update, which will drive a lot of capital projects and a few more policy objectives. And we talked about some of those projects yesterday at the joint meeting. Those projects just can't be grabbed from the air. There's a purposeful master plan in place that's being updated, and that's what we call the May River Watershed Action Plan. That'll drive those projects into the capital improvement program so that you can all consider them in the budget. And I know Brian's getting ready to adopt that by the end of the fiscal, but we know that that'll carry forward. We updated the employee handbook, which was a major to-do. Catherine, thank you. It has helped us so much. It's helped us on hiring processes. It's helped us on benefits. It's helped us so many times where it's organized, it's well done. Terry's office, I think Terry read every single line, and we're confident that we have a great employee handbook in place. Every employee receives one and signs off on it, signs off on it as they're hired. Your operating procedures and meeting policy has been in place for a long time. I don't think there's much wrong with it. What you first adopted is a great document. In the strategic plan, you had mentioned that maybe just let's take a quick look at it and see if there's things out of place, if the state law's changed, how do we calibrate that? And by the end of the fiscal, you'll see that on a council workshop, and then an adoption via resolution by the end of the fiscal. So,
And then maybe some Robert's Rules of Order, we've been asked to give a little, in one of our workshops, give a little presentation on the rules and Robert's Rules and things like that. So that's upcoming.
a Town of Bluffton Staff Board Commission Committee Customer Service Institute, where 119 of your appointees will take the Bluffton Ambassador Program through our partnership with USCB. They'll hear about our history presentation that Hayward House provides to our staff, but also to our boards, commission, committees. And we'll also address and talk to your appointments, but the folks that really govern and oversee the boards where the work's being done. We'll talk to them about our commitment to the customer, an applicant as a customer, and really our philosophy through our mission statement. And so that will be complete, in place by the end of the fiscal. I would say that that's in place informally, but if we all stop looking at it, I'm not positive it'll continue. So we'll formalize that. And then a file management and a record retention plan. That's just a long-term commitment that we will continue to digitize files, organize them well, archive them per state code. And I'd say we got through a lot of that when we moved out of and back into town hall. We cleaned out the basement, so to speak. And I think we're in good shape, but there's still some time, money, software, people that need to be put in place to make that 100% complete. So that's our current action agenda. You see what got complete, you see what was complete, I should say. You see what will be complete by the end of the fiscal, and you see what we just didn't get to. Maybe, I think we went to the grocery store hungry. We thought we were going to do a lot more this year, but I would tell you we have been very specific with our schedules. Just some of the work is so much we're not getting to it by the end of the fiscal. So, and it'll build our next action agenda.
I think that council should be aware that the number of FOIA requests in this last fiscal year has probably doubled or tripled. It is taking up an awful lot of time. Scott ended up, Debbie, Joy, and the police department, our office is involved, but a week does not go by without us getting 5 or 6 FOIA requests. I don't think any of us anticipated the magnitude of that and how much time it's taken to deal with it. So that might be why some of those things are carried over instead of.
Questions of council right now? And everyone's important, but since our front row represents so many other entities, do y'all have questions? Do you have this? I think y'all have this in your packet. Any thoughts, questions, just kind of let me know and I'll acknowledge you. I have a question, maybe you'll get council thinking. Mark, on the carryover, there are a lot of carryovers. How much more can you add this year that you're comfortable with? I guess maybe that's setting our expectations and reminding us. Are some of the carryovers budgetary and you just knew it, that it'd take longer than 2 years, or what else? How much more can you add, or are you comfortable with the amount that you're carrying over?
Right.
Question of that.
Yeah, so these great people sitting around the table have committed to getting that work done this fiscal year, but I can't tell you, we're due diligence central in growth management.
Yeah.
I want to build on a triangle property, and I want a building that's circular, and what are my setbacks and buffers, and so they spend a lot of time on that, and that's our priority. So do we bite off more than we can chew? Probably, but I think that's a good practice. I'd rather bite off and pull back rather than be so conservative that just a few things a year. We're in startup mode here. Mayor, to answer your question directly, we've proposed, in addition to the carryover, 15 new policy items in about the same new capital projects. Some of what's up there is budgetary. Comp plan is an outsourced consultant assistance deliverable. We didn't spend money on that this year because we spent some money elsewhere. So some of that's carrying over for money, some of it's carrying over for time, but I don't believe that these folks have told me that what's up there to carry over, plus some of the new items, is too much. We'd probably see some carryover, and I'd like to adjust and calibrate a year from now when we get back together.
Any questions, council? Any from anyone else at the table?
I had a quick question on the, and we have Ashley Jacobs here. Thank you for coming here. But on the impact fee, you said it's an and or. Who decides it's and or? Yes.
I should have just said and.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so it had to be and.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say, I didn't realize it said or.
No, not a
just
problem.
and.
Okay. Nothing. Crickets. But welcome a few more people I see. I see our Hannah Horn from the Chamber. Thank you from LRTA, Home Builders. Thank y'all for coming. And we're John O'Toole with EDC, thank you. And I see Dan Hunt from the paper. We are staying pretty much on schedule. The hopes are to finish before 5, hopefully. So we're right on schedule with everything, and I really appreciate y'all coming. So we'll open it up for any comments throughout. Mr. Wood.
I just want to follow up on the impact fee question. Is that something that the county is hoping to finish this year with their consultants? Fiscal, okay.
Yeah, do you shake your head?
Yes.
Great, thank you, Ashley. And then what I'll do is, once they finish that, we'll have them present at a workshop setting with council, and then you adopt it if that's what your wishes are. So you would adopt really the operating agreement, and then ultimately the ordinance as well. So, okay.
Good. And maybe just one follow-up for those who weren't here yesterday. We had the tide has changed in the positive. We had a really wonderful, impactful meeting with the county yesterday, our joint workshop, and everyone's looking to the future about how we can help with some of these sewer installations. And Ashley, thank you on your side for your leadership, and Mark, because we left there on the same page of what we need to do to fix sewer, the quality of the water, and it was just amazing. So stay tuned. There's going to be some joint commitments with Beaufort Jasper Water, with the county and the town, and it was a new day, and it was just so nice to leave. It was so positive. So thanks for setting that up.
Thank you, thank you. Without further ado, Mike and Bill, is this your third time with us?
Where's Chris?
Yeah, 5 years, third time.
5 years, 3 times. So I think that we've had some positive results with Bill and Mike. They're with the Mercer Group, management consultant nationwide. And I will ask Mike and Bill to introduce themselves. They do a much better job introducing who Mercer Group is. But so we all know, they have been with us when we reset our strategic plan. So the document we have in place where we set our goals, objectives, focus areas, they've been with us. They've come back every couple years to perhaps rethink our vision, mission, goals, objectives, help with the survey preparation, not help, take care of the survey preparation, and synthesize all of your input and results. So welcome back, sir, and thank you.
Just make sure it's great to be back. First of all, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, town manager, assistant town manager, staff, community, we are thrilled to be here. Mark already introduced that we're the Mercer Group. We're the largest public sector consulting firm in the country. Bill and I, a little bit about our background. My background is primarily in city management. I've been a city manager for about 35 years. I've also teach strategic planning at the University of Arizona. And Bill has also been Bill started in the fire service, but now he is the fire chief, deputy chief. He is on the city council. He's a current city council member in Goodyear, Arizona, which is a large, about what, 80,000? 90. Oh, wow, I'm off. 90,000 community on the east side of Phoenix. And so we both bring a management perspective, both of us, but Bill also brings an elected official's perspective that we find to be very, very helpful. So let's talk about why your strategic plan is unique. A lot of strategic plans simply focus on vision, creating a vision. Your plan provides a vision, but more importantly, your plan also focuses on getting things done. The town manager's gone through not only what you've done in the current plan, but also setting a stage today for what you're going to be doing moving forward. And that is pretty significant, because one of the things I want to emphasize with the council, this staff has things that they do day to day that they're responsible for. Police chief, you've got to make calls. You've got calls that the officers have to make. There are issues that come up day to day in the police department. Those routine things that need to get done. What the strategic plan provides, if you don't have a plan, what it provides, and you've got it, is to also plan for the future, to specifically plan what you want to accomplish in the future, and what a guy named Peterson Gay calls managing your horizons. You guys have done a really, really great job with that. So it also provides organizational priorities. It prevents distractions, because if you don't have a plan, one of the things I was talking to my class in strategic at the university, I teach in strategic planning, and one of the things I said, nothing against the council, but how often do you meet there? Every 2 weeks?
Every month.
Every
and
month.
Quarterly workshops.
Okay, quarterly
So a lot.
workshop. So if you don't have a strategic plan, like meeting every month, or if the council meets every week, or the city that I was last in, we met every couple of weeks. Every week there can be a new agenda. Something else can be developed. Things are added to staff. And the question becomes, are those things significantly moving the city ahead? What you have is a plan that says, these are the things, these are the initiatives that are important. These are where we're going to focus staff time, so it alleviates the distractions. It drives your policy. It also provides for making sure that your community priorities are met. The other thing the plan does is provide structure. It provides both a purpose, which is your vision, your mission, and things of that nature, but it also provides the needs of the community, the function, identifying what those needs are. It takes your staff, the resources that you have on staff, it focuses those resources, and finally, it describes exactly what's going to be done, what's going to be accomplished during the time. Now, in Bluffton, you have a series of focus areas. And one of the things that we did in the survey this year, that Bill and I did, when we surveyed you, we asked you, are these focus areas still pertinent? Bill will be going over this. Yes, they're still pertinent. These are areas that we feel we want to continue to focus on. Under those focus areas are guiding principles, which are essentially, we call them guiding principles, some consultants call them strategies. You're okay with those. You don't want to change those. So both your guiding principles, your focus areas are good to go, and we'll show those in the survey results. So what we can focus on today are really the projects, and Mark's focused on where projects you have currently. We can also focus on projects in the future. As we get into the projects, the most important thing to remember is strategic plan projects are not the day-to-day stuff that you do. These are significant projects that are going to consume staff's time. They're very deliberate. They exclude short-term, as I've mentioned, and ultimately it leads into your strategic plan. Last year, the way that your plan is structured, the great thing about it is that it's tied to your business systems, it's tied to your budget, so every year you have an opportunity to look at the plan, and this is really important for the council. I remember the first strategic plan I did, I was city manager in Sedona, Arizona. It was about 1996. And one of the things the council said was, wait just a minute, Mike. If we decide to change one of the projects, how do we do that? Because they were concerned about getting locked in to a plan that they couldn't change. And I said, not a problem. We just change it. We can change it during the cycle of the year, and we can decide that project may be put off and we put another project in. But the plan is a dynamic document, because they were used to a plan being static. You have a dynamic document here that every year you can look at as part of the budget process and change, and that's really important. Before I get to questions, the biggest thing to remember, and you guys, it's amazing in terms of, first of all, we really appreciate the opportunity to work with you. You guys have been a phenomenal experience to see your growth. But one of the things that's been so unique about your plan, it's just like, you guys have heard of Mr. Collins, Jim Collins. He wrote, Good to Great. And one of the things he talks about is a flywheel. The momentum built when you start that flywheel, one revolution. 2 revolutions. And eventually that flywheel takes off and its own momentum and drives it. You are in the flywheel where now your momentum in this community is driving this continuous change. And that is a really, really good thing. Bill and I, are really, really pleased to be part of that journey with you. What I'm going to do now is we're going to switch. Any questions at this point? We're going to switch to Bill, and what Bill's going to do is get into talking more specifically about your projects. Thank you.
I didn't want to have to use the mic, but
You have to.
off we go. Yeah, exactly. Again, I really appreciate being back. I think I'm the council member, I'm the elected one, so I get to call everybody by their first name. Mike's the manager, so it's, mayor and vice mayor. But Bridget, I hope that throughout the course of this, you'll see some of the value of what we've done over the last 5 years from a focus area. One of the things that we're really good about as elected people is to shoot into many different directions. And the strategic focus and the concept that Mike and I have put together has tried to bring some of that together. I refer to it as chasing balloons, and I said that when we met with the staff. We're really good at, let's go after the blue one, and then, the shiny one looks better. So we really try to bring some focus and some organization, and I think you see now the result of that over the last 5 years, the amount of work that's able to be done and maintaining the things that are important to the community, and that's those strategic focus areas. So let's talk a little bit about the surveys. We did identical surveys for both the council and the staff. We reviewed the staff results with them so that they could be prepared as we move forward. Your results are here today as we go through them. Everybody completed them. Again, leadership team took the same survey. Everyone seems to be kind of in agreement that we're headed in the right direction. Is the vision statement articulate where we're trying to go? Yes, one said no, but we've got no comments to back that up. So I would look to the dissenter of the group and say, whoever you are, get that information to Mark. He needs it to move forward.
Who was the 6th person?
You had 5 on the council.
Oh, okay.
And
then we did a pass
and then we did and then after the election we did one more for Bridget to get in. So yeah, I forgot it was Harry. So yeah, that's why there were 6.
Okay.
We didn't magically promote. Try to take one step forward in advancing the size of the council.
No, just one.
It's a really good question. Mission statement again, the same.
Speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil, there he is. Harry, good to see you. Do the focus areas, are they consistent with the town's priority? 2 said no. And again, no follow-up comments. So if you're in that neighborhood of we're not really sure that this is where we want to go, getting that information plugged in and getting those changes and the things you'd like to see changed. We changed kind of administratively one word in the and I've even forgotten what it was, to add one definition by adding one word. Didn't change the whole thing, and it brought it forward, and I think it was the diverse. Talking about, we added the word diverse to one of the focus areas because that it was implied, but we thought it was important to call it out, so Mark had us add it. So you can add those or change them throughout the course of any time. So if you're not really comfortable, let's go ahead and move forward with that. Again, performance of the current plan, loan to center, the quality of life issues. These are the things that that you commented that you want to see changed or concerns that you have coming forward, where we need to go. I'm not going to read through them. But it's been very interesting for me. Mike talked about the size of our community. When I was on staff in Goodyear when, in 2001, we were 18,000 people. Today, I'm the vice mayor of the community that's 90,000 people. So in that period, in this 20-year window, we have, 300 or 400% growth. And it was, every time I do one of these surveys with you guys, it's very interesting to watch how things are progressing and go back in my history of how we felt the same way about our community going forward. But we didn't have these kinds of discussions back then. So it's really good. We have a very similar strategic plan in our community. We meet every week. Yes, so.
We won't.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal for the staff, it's brutal for us. But I think the thing that you see with us, that I see a parallel here, is the community is first. There's no political dog park in my neighborhood kinds of discussions. It's all very, very much community focused. And I think that's so very, very important. Quality of life, again, challenges of creating a community that is engaging the youth. These are taken verbatim, so I want to somewhat apologize, but they're not my words, they're your words, and I didn't want to disrupt them. I put the little asterisk in to try to break up what I thought were the thoughts of the person that wrote that. But in a growing community, that is one of the challenges. We want all the things for everybody all at once, and moving that forward. But I think the staff, when they look at this result, can take away and build the capital projects that will help to advance those. Maybe not as quickly as we would like, but we'll advance them nonetheless. Economic growth challenges. There are 6 slides here. So I look to the Don Ryan Center and the Economic Development Corp folks and say, there's some concern about what we're doing moving forward as a community. Not that we're concerned about your work, but economic development is very much in the forefront of what the council is looking at. So industries, creating jobs, jobs that are beyond hospitality. So every time the camera goes up, I'm going to slow down, make sure you get your picture. And if I'm standing in the way, just, hey, move your... My dad used to yell at me when I stood in front of the television, you made a better door than a window. So I'm very, very cognizant of that. Looking at the industries controlling growth, which sometimes we can or can't do. As the community wants us to stay the same size that we were, but sometimes the folks in the community don't realize that they were the growth that the people 10 years ago didn't want, and now they're that growth where they live, so 10 years from now. So we've got to kind of manage that. The construction and development industry as a whole is experiencing great growth over the last few years, but they're anticipating that there'll be a slowdown eventually and where it will come. So those run in cycles. We have to be careful about taking action to specifically control the growth, because that can have a negative impact later on. Somebody is dying for the Don Ryan Center to get open. And I think that's probably everybody. Challenging creating and sustaining jobs in the area, having a good, viable workforce. That's not just, I would imagine that's not just Bluffton's issue, that's going to be the county's issue, that's going to be Hardyville, I think. Is that the mayor?
Right there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you move seats?
No.
Sorry, Mayor. But I'm sure that's your concern too. What do we do? How do we get this? How do we get this moving forward? Financial challenges. growing too fast, we need to pay attention to the licensing fees, the challenge of changing revenue streams. Those come up almost word for word in every single state that we do work in. Those are the concerns that everybody has. It's good that you talk about them and get them out in front. Reminds staff, even though they're in it day in and day out, but it's good that they hear it from their elected folks that these are concerns that they have. Challenge of not being streamlined with plans. We have a system that we call fast tracking plans in our community that is not fast enough for the developers. So we are exploring self-certified plan reviews that they certify that they're in compliance with and move forward. It's a big risk, so I'm sure those from the planning background and everybody else would just shake at that. So in a year or two, I'll let you know, but I think the real answer to how that works is going to be in 20 years when the buildings either fall down or they stand up. But
when the shingles fall off during a windstorm.
Exactly. That's when we'll really know whether it worked or not. But it's a big challenge. The May River, big concern. So Mike and I both live in the desert, and waterways is not anything that we consider. So this for us has been a great learning experience, and I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to work with Bluffton that we can continue to learn about it. But as the years have gone by and we keep the surveys and things, we learn more and more each step. But as I've now learned, this is definitely not just the town of Bluffton's problem or responsibility. That it is really a county and state issue. I just cannot. I'm not a California, tree hugger kind of approach, but I do understand the importance of natural resources and hope that everybody works together to get this done. The deteriorating water supply from stormwater runoff, et cetera, that has been a theme. And I think if you look back over the years of the projects that have been completed toward advancing stormwater, sewer, it's just moving in the right direction. But everyone's still concerned about it, which is good. The town's organization, now this came from you, so this did not come from the employees. But making sure that we're taking care of the employees, get more involvement with our committees, the 119, which is a staggering number. But I think one of the things that as electeds we forget about is all of this work that we want done is executed by somebody. And we can't neglect the organization to get the projects done. And it may be time to start looking at how do we make sure that we've got the right people on the boat before we start rowing a little farther, a little faster. And then infrastructure challenges. I think Mark talked about a lot of those.
Would you back up one slide for me? I think I missed something. More involvement in community. Okay, I'm fine. I just didn't read that second.
No, that's okay.
Did you read the second one? Because the second one's important for discussion today, perhaps. Re-examine the increase in the number of council members.
I did not.
I was writing, so I didn't know if I heard that.
I didn't hear it either.
I was not going to read them and
Okay.
letting them go, but
Okay.
We can take notes on that to discuss.
yeah. Yes. We don't have that many. But also we have a giant staff, so sometimes it's better to get the work of the community, but sometimes that can be an animal that's harder to wrestle. I lead some work at church, and trying to get volunteers to march in a straight line is very hard. So, infrastructure, roads, staying up with the growth, funding of roadways, always a challenge. Affordable workforce housing. we just had a state and someone from the state legislature try to say every community has to have affordable workforce housing designated areas within their community, but they designated the workforce housing cost per home that is anything less than anything less than $300,000, and I don't know what workforce folks are living in $300,000 homes today. So I thought that was a nice political gesture, but I don't know that it would really work.
I didn't understand that last sentence.
I didn't write it.
I
so
know I didn't either. I just wondered if somebody may understand what it means. I don't know.
What I took away from this was exploring partnerships and working with developers and trying to build it. That the town may not necessarily be the ones to own the property and do the work.
Oh.
That's what I took away from that.
Yeah.
But I think it just speaks to we know that this is a problem and perhaps we don't know exactly what the solution is. So from a higher level perspective, it's let's keep working on it till we figure this out.
Okay.
Again, go back to, but your focus area has its focus area and its guiding principles. So when you talk about workforce housing, that's what you want to come back to and say, we want it, and this is the parameters that we're going to do it within. Let's keep moving forward. Again, it's about builders that understand what affordable definition is and affordable housing, or affordable using and workforce housing challenges are ever increasing. It's a reality. I think it's a reality that we're facing nationwide. But just because it's a nationwide problem doesn't mean it's not important here. It doesn't mean that you don't want to take any action. And I think for everybody, in the audience that's going to watch this, et cetera, that's the takeaway.
You said these are council responses?
These are all council responses.
The current plus the past.
What other challenges out there? People becoming unhappy with projects popping up in their neighborhoods. I didn't mention this, but for the council's perspective, sometimes it's as simple as the town posting a sign that says, this is the project that we're working on to benefit your neighborhood.
And they've adopted that. So you all amended the code some time ago that requires those significant projects to post a sign and do some other things. We also do the same with our capital projects now that we haven't done. So
yeah.
Actually, number one, I don't think I wrote it, but I agree with it, and that's something I think we pass along. We have someone with the Realtors Association here that can take note and take it back, because I do think that's the front lines for these new residents need to know what they're moving into. Right. There are disclosures that we have to disclose gators. We have to disclose that we have alligators.
Sure.
So why can't we disclose what is around and what the surrounding areas are? So I see Jocelyn taking notes.
I'm trying to write as quick as
We'll send you the slide.
That came from, a situation that we had not long ago with Hampton Lake.
Mm-hmm.
The arbor situation. So that's where I got those. That's where I got that opinion that
I agree with it. I don't know how we do that though. I don't know how we do that, but we can discuss it when you're ready.
But I think the application map, the permit map, we've got to get the word out perhaps more or better. Maybe the Realtors Association can help us with that message. That permit finder is huge for us. Excuse me. And then I also think posting the project sign is as much as we can do. We also force through our code that the project owner or the property owner send letters to the immediate surrounding properties. So
well,
isn't that a code? Yeah. So that's happening now, different than it did 6-8 months ago.
But where the cracks are the developers who have their own agents who we heard with arbors that say one thing and we clearly know it's another. And it might be too big, but I just think our town has so many little districts and know what can be put in a home in Old Town. And,
Okay.
you know, I
That's what
just
you're
have
saying.
always been a big supporter of what kind of disclosure. In a lot of our town, we're the growing part of the county. And I just think it would help. And you see what we get in comments from new residents, and they're told one thing and we have to tell them another, then they get angry. So I love that response.
I was thinking that, personally, that if it's some type of responsibility that we can put on the developers to make it mandatory that those people purchasing those so-called lots or whatever, homes, it has to be a package, so they have to give it to them. They can't not give it to them.
And have them sign
In
off
order
on it.
for the sale to be complete, or something, and I don't know how to do it.
Like an upfront disclosure packet or something.
Yeah, it's mandatory that those people get that information. That way, if they come into here 2 years later to us, look what they're doing. They didn't tell me.
Here's the sheet.
Like, you know, they have to sign on the dotted line that they received what has already been approved by us or what's coming, so to speak.
I'll give you a great, are you okay if we do this?
Yep.
A great example, last week I received a call from a realtor who is selling a property at Cypress Ridge, and he wanted to know about the easement we have by Sun City, between Mill Creek, Cypress Ridge, and Sun City. And I said, if it's on a map, it can be built. You need to tell them that. But I can tell them that probably not. I said, I wouldn't tell them probably not. You need to show them where there's a roadway dotted. Somebody has approved it, it just may not be funded. And that was a developer agent, that if he'd have had that sheet, this is a possible road. It could be funded next year, it could be funded 10 years from now, but you see that dot? Somebody passed it, it would be something. And I think that sign off, you know, they have it in their files because, and somehow how do we get it? I don't know. It might be too much paperwork, but it's going on now. People don't want to relay what could.
Right.
Mayor Bruce. Of the surrounding areas, so that they know that it's pre-zoned, and that's what's, you know, not really something the realtor association require, but have, here's your house, but by the way, here's the zoning map of what's being there.
Within a certain distance. I mean,
Yeah.
They don't have to learn what's coming throughout the entire town, but just what could directly affect their lifestyle within the coming future. You know, 3 miles or a mile or 2 miles, something, right?
So I think, oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask.
Talk loudly though, because we have Joe in the back.
I just wanted to ask, so what would be the most consistent that will always be updated as things change, piece of information for the realtors to go to?
I think it's a meeting later with staff and somebody to sit and say, what can we do? Because I think Old Town is different from Halston Park. You know, and it's different from Arbors, and what is future development? Maybe that's what we can do. You need to put on your master plans either open space or future development. And, you know, developers so quickly want to say open space, knowing good and well if they have 100 units left, it's future development. So I think it's just wording like that we can handle with our developers, but then how to get with you for the Old Town, all the different districts is something totally different.
I think this is a really good opportunity, and Mark has acknowledged that this is a great opportunity for the town and realtors and everybody to work together to figure out what does that look like to get these disclosures out. For us, it's been decades of work of supporting Luke Air Force Base, which is our neighbor to the north. We do every person who buys a home has to get a sound disclosure because we have jets flying.
Right.
It's very loud.
They have it at Habersham now, so disclosures can be put in.
So it's a fairly simple process, but I think the work between the staff and all of the key stakeholders, this is a simple problem to solve. Whether it's executable, I mean, whether people read it and understand it is something else entirely. Okay, so that's popping up, and then components of the plan that you'd like to see changed. One said yes, but didn't say what. So again, my encouragement is if you want to see some changes, please. The plan itself is built to be flexible. That if things are changing over the years, it's not etched in stone. It's a very pliable document. Just work with the staff and make the changes that you want to see there.
So I do encourage y'all, you know, we all did it separately, but there's no issue if you said no and everyone said yes, if you said yes and everyone said no. So please speak up, and because this is a time Mark doesn't know what to do with that. So if something needs to be changed at some point today, maybe go back to it in a way and let us know.
The other thing that I think it's important for the council to recognize is the staff will use this document as their way forward. As they're making judgments, as they're coming up with plans, this really guides that. So if you're unhappy, don't let it come out when, hey, we got this project. I don't want to say it's too late, because it's never too late, but that's the worst time to do it to staff after they put in the time to get it fired up. So help them through that. Again, parts that are missing, more than passive parks are in there. I think that was a common theme. What is not included in the survey are the guiding principles. So that may be a matter of just looking at the guiding principles to make sure that they're clear and a good refresher. But those are all in the packet, the guiding principles and the focus areas.
Yeah, so if I could add, this is in the back of your book. It's the strategic plan stapled. It doesn't have the original and modified action agendas. That's what's up on the screen. So everything's in there.
So the guiding principles, the focus areas, guiding principles, those are all in there. Again, town ordinances. We need some update. I think that will probably never change. Day-to-day operational improvements, no. Any questions about your survey results?
Any comments or questions on maybe to fill in the blanks? Or maybe if you know what the blank is and you want to fill it in? Great.
If not, look at the timing of ending this to grab food, sit down. We'll probably try to gather everybody together after a few minutes, but working lunch.
So we'll let the table go through first and get lunch and start. Mark?
Can I just say one quick thing?
Sure.
I don't like to brag, but I'm going to. This is supposed to end at 11:30 for a working lunch, and I'm actually wasting time now.
Yes, you are.
So, but during our working lunch, what I'd like to accomplish is some general discussion with town council. What do you, out of those survey results, as well as from your vantage point, what do you think we should be doing that we're not? What I want to do after lunch is go over what I believe I interpret and extract from senior staff, but also interpret from your survey results of a new work plan. But that doesn't mean we've got it 100% correct. You might see things on there that shouldn't be, or you might see some things up there that you want to add to. Right. So that's what this afternoon is about.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Right. Just to throw it out, we have a really wonderful ribbon cutting at 4:30 today, and not to rush this, but we don't have to drag it to 5. If we can finish earlier, I'd love to get there, but I can also get there after 5 and whoever else.
Very short period of time left.
Good.
We'll be through early.
Bill, I want to make a comment about that workforce housing. And I serve on the Affordable Housing Committee along with the chairman, and been at it 4 years. And I like your comments about, it's an issue, it's a problem, it's a national problem, it's a county problem, it's a municipal problem. Everybody that lives here knows it's a problem, okay? And the other part of the problem is, it's one of the hardest things that's ever existed to solve, because you have to bring the marketplace into the equation. You can't just go do it yourself. And so, you know, we keep hammering at it. We're making some progress from our perspective. I know that everybody's interested in it. We just had a developer recently say that they would put 10 units into a development they're going to be building. We have another little home run out there where the apartments are going up at near Seagrass area. So we're making some baby steps, but they're good progress. The chairman and the town manager have been meeting with some developers, as was discussed a little while ago. And fundamentally, the larger picture to all of this, that none of us really from the county or the municipal perspective knows where it's going, is the housing trust fund that is being implemented for the region. These are all unknowns. We hope that they bear fruit. We don't know where it's going to take us, but this is a challenging question to be solved, and we just keep hammering at it.
For us in the Metro Phoenix area, our bigger challenge is the homelessness issue. It's nationwide, it's everywhere, it's a very difficult problem. The solution is not simple. So this is just, it's another form of it. My hope as a human being is that we figure out workforce housing to prevent future homelessness. That's my hope as a human being, that we solve the problem before it becomes an issue.
Amen.
Well, I hope that we can further discuss this after lunch, because if affordable housing is one of our top priority, then I think today should be a day we spend some time trying to hone in some of the low-hanging fruits that we can achieve.
Okay.
Right.